Hey, welcome to the Alpha Omega Biz Dev podcast, where we teach small business owners, entrepreneurs, and specifically chiropractic business owners, business strategies and tips. So I'm Dr. John Lee, and I'm with Alpha Omega Consulting, and I not only have a very successful chiropractic practice in Irvine, California called Lee Chiropractic, but I also teach chiropractors all across the nation and even some internationally how to achieve their own dream practice. So today, the topic that we're going to get into is one that chiropractic business owners and probably business owners in general usually dread. And it's the topic of training our staff, our employees. And the issue is, let me ask you, are you training your team systematically or sporadically? And most would answer that they are training their team sporadically, just whenever they have time, whenever they get a little pocket of dead space on their schedule. Chiropractors specifically, when we're busy, we're busy. We're seeing lots of patients, we're adjusting patients, treating patients, handling new patient appointments. And sometimes we can go days and weeks without really having any free time. And so finding the time to train our team gets pushed off to the wayside. And then, owners will usually wait for maybe one day where there is a cancellation on a new patient appointment. Now they've got half an hour, maybe an hour that they can train their team. Let me tell you, my friend, going about it that way is not going to keep your team well trained. It's also not going to empower your employees to really feel that they're at their best. So let me put it to you this way. I am a big pro football lover, and my team is the 49ers. And I got my prop, my football right here. And let me ask you a question. If my beloved team, the San Francisco 49ers, who recently went to the Super Bowl and just barely lost at the end. It was a very heartbreaking loss and a hard game to watch. But imagine a pro football team. Would they just show up on Sunday and play the game? No way. They practice. They train. They have a game plan. They have a strategy. They go over plays over and over. They get the right people in the right positions. They practice the key plays, offense, defense, and they really plan, right? They really prepare themselves to the best of their ability so that they can hopefully pull off a win when that game time comes on Sunday, okay? So that's how a professional football goes about it. And that's honestly any football team, whether it's at the college level, the high school level, heck, even Pop Warner football, they practice, right? So if you look at your business and your employees, no matter how many you might have one, you might have five, you might have 7 or 10, right? But no matter the number of employees that you have, our game time, especially as chiropractic business owners, if you're a chiropractor watching, our game times are the days that we see patients. So it's usually Monday all day for most chiropractors. It's typically Tuesdays are half days, Wednesdays are full days, Thursdays could be a half day or full day, and some chiropractors work Fridays, some don't, right? But it's when we see patients on those weekdays that every day is like a game day for us, okay? Because we have to perform, we have to be on our game, and when we're adjusting patients, we have to be ultra focused. We've gone to school for a long time and trained and had to pass board exams and clinical exams to get our degree and license to be a chiropractor. And also decision making for new patients and re-examinations. We have to critically think all the time and make the right decisions for our patients. And sometimes treatment plans have to be modified and changed. Sometimes we have to refer out for things like MRIs. Point is, every day there's a lot going on, and every day is like a game day, right? So why do most chiropractic business owners then approach these game days with very little practice or very little training? So that's why, if you go about your training sporadically, your team is never going to be prepared to the best of their ability. And you really, sadly, you set them up for failure, and you set them up for frustrations, and you put them in vulnerable positions that they haven't been trained on handling, whether it be a tough new patient phone call, new patient who has really difficult questions about insurance and if they're going to get treated, that first day. Even, your therapy assistants, if you haven't fully trained them, they might be put in positions where they make mistakes. And if you make mistakes with a patient, that could be bad. A patient could lose trust. They could leave the practice. It could lead to a really poor experience and possibly a negative, bad online review, which hurts your reputation. So that's how, the ripple effect can be with a lack of training. So, having really established solid training systems within my practice for many years, and this didn't happen overnight, right? It wasn't just, hey, I got some training from somebody and within a month or two or three, all the systems and trainings were in place. Now, this was something that I acquired and learned and paid for with multiple consultants and experts and mentors I've had over my career. And over many, many years, we plugged away each of these systems into our business and practice. And at this point, it is very systematic, and we go about our training in a very systematic way. So I want to share this with you. Okay, so if you are having frustrations with training your team, whether it be you don't have time to do it, and that's the number one thing that I hear from chiropractors that I consult is, they don't have time for this, right? Where are they going to squeeze in an extra hour or so for training their team? It's just not possible. So that's one thing that we're going to talk about and overcome. And the other thing is a lot of chiropractors and business owners in general, they don't know where to start, right? Like, what are the training topics that we have to train on? And then where are the resources? What do we train with? How do we train them? So let me tackle this step by step. I'm going to give you about 4 key steps that if you go about this way, you can really get systematic with your team training. And so the number one thing is with, say, a new hire, and it doesn't even have to be a new employee. If you've got employees that have been with you for a while, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, at any level, you can create what I call a 90-day training checklist, a 3-month training checklist. And what this is usually just about a 2-page Word document or a Google Doc that you can create. And you want to list all the duties that these assistants or employees are going to be responsible for. And then after you have about, usually 2 pages of duties, prioritize and move around things to the very top of the list on page 1 that have the highest value and the most important things that they have to learn right away and get up to speed with to be able to contribute and be a solid team member for your business. So with this 90-day training checklist, again, it's typically done as soon as you hire somebody. But again, if you've got a veteran, this is a good chance for you to do an audit to see if your veteran CAs or assistants really have been trained properly on all the duties that they're required to do. Okay, and the goal with the 90-day training checklist is not being an expert at those duties after 3 months. I say proficient. You want them to be proficient, especially with a new hire. Just want them to be able to understand the concepts and do them at a decent level. And then that expert level just comes with time, right? There's no substitute for time and repetitions and just more experience with their role. It eventually, typically after about a year or more, they become an expert at all of these duties. So again, 90-day training checklists will allow you to get employees, especially new ones, to a very proficient level. And then beyond that, they become expert level at some point. So that's number 1. Number 2 is you must dedicate training time outside of patient training times if you're a chiropractor. For regular other businesses, if you have store hours or business hours, you need to dedicate time outside of open business hours for training. Okay, and the general rule that I recommend is 1 to 4 hours, 1, 2, 3, or 4 hours. If you've got a team of mostly newbies and novices and new hires, people who have a lot to learn, you're going to need to put in about 4 hours a week. Okay, so typically on a slower day, right? So because I'm a chiropractor, I know what our slow days usually are. They're usually Tuesdays and Thursdays because chiropractors usually have their new patients come in 3 times a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So historically, I've seen chiropractors do half days, patient care on Tuesdays, and often half days on Thursdays too. So Tuesdays and Thursdays are great days to build in this training. So say you see patients Tuesday afternoon, but you don't see patients in the mornings. Your team honestly should just be there on Tuesday morning anyways to do administrative work and also meetings and team trainings like I'm talking about. And again, if you get a new team, 4 hours is a whole half day. So that could be an 8 to 12, 8 a.m. to noon, or 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. lunch break, and then everyone comes back to see patients for the afternoon. Or it could be flipped. You guys could be seeing patients in the morning, 8 to noon, or 9 to 1 p.m. lunch break, and then the afternoon could be dedicated for team training. Okay. Usually after the team starts to do this week after week, the team starts to become proficient in all the duties and may even start to become advanced in some of the duties. Then you can start to trim down 1 hour at a time. Then it can become 3 hours, 2 hours. Eventually, with very seasoned, experienced, veteran employees on your team, you can just do 1 hour a week. Okay. Now, mind you, this is 1 hour of team training in addition to a weekly staff meeting. Okay, so usually you need to do a weekly staff meeting that lasts about an hour as well. And so on top of that would be always a minimum or mandatory 1 hour team training for you and the team. Okay. The other beauty is with veteran teams, the further, the longer they go with working together, you, the owner, don't even always have to be present for every single training. And so with my practice, because we do have some, real seasoned veterans, I've got one CA that's been with us for 14 years. A lot of times I leave the training in her hands. And so I'll ask her on a Tuesday morning, hey, can you train on this topic, that topic, this topic? And I'll let you go and lead that and just give me an update on how that went. Okay. The point is training is getting done. Okay. So dedicated training time outside of patient hours or outside of your normal business hours. Okay. The third thing is that you want to apply and learn all the systems, okay, within your business, within your industry. Okay. So within a chiropractic business, there are so many systems and what I call processes that are unique to what we do. Okay. And this is what took me a long time, over years and years and years, and multiple advisors that I sought out and hired and learned from, that I just learned one at a time. We're talking about probably hundreds of different things. Okay. And so just know that there's no, fast track to this. You can't really substitute time and energy and effort that it is required to just learn these one at a time, train your team. And then you have to often revisit things and quiz on things and, check in and make sure your staff, really understands all these systems and processes. I'm just going to actually look at my list here. I have this general list. There's so many things. So for a chiropractic assistant, I'm just going to list them out. They should know how to use checklists, okay, at their position. They should know how to get prepared for a morning huddle. They should know all the office forms and things called travel cards for patient care. There's block scheduling to be learned. There's case types to be learned. There's appointment types to be learned. They'll need to learn how to do stats, daily, weekly, monthly stats. They also need to help out with putting together treatment care plans and also insurance verifications, how to create insurance care plans, how to do maintenance care plans. Then there's phones. Mastering phones is going to require understanding the new patient phone call. There's usually scripting to this. There's frequently asked questions from new patients. There's existing patient phone call skills. There's also different word choices that can be trained on when handling phone call communications. There's also a CA's duties on a day 1 new patient appointment, a day 2 new patient appointment. Then you've also got all the therapy processes and systems and how they would assist you, the chiropractic doctor, with things like electrical stimulation, laser therapy, spinal decompression therapy, teaching of stretches exercises, and so on and so on, right? Also things like, do your CAs have a systematic way or training on how to ask for referrals, patient referrals from happy patients? Do they know how to ask for online reviews? So I'm not sure how many things I just shouted out there, but there's a lot. And then there's also obviously Doctor of Chiropractic DC training systems, right? But this topic we're talking about on this episode is really about CA training. There's plenty, right? So the point is, you want to understand what all these different systems and processes within a chiropractic business or whatever business you're in are, and you want to have a game plan on getting all of these learned, okay? Now, usually there are going to be a handful of processes and systems that have such a high value and a high repetition that they're going to be retrained over and over and over. Sometimes once a month, sometimes every 3 months, it has to be retrained. And I'll share with you some of these that we do very repeatedly. And it would be the day one process from a chiropractic assistant's perspective and the day two process. Because not only do us chiropractors have very clear things that we need to do and how we need to communicate new patients on a new patient's first day, second day visit, our CAs have very important roles too. And it starts with simple things like, do they know how to greet a new patient? Are they standing up? What are they saying? Are they saying the new patient's name? Are they reaching out to shake their hand? How are forms explained? Are they just handed a clipboard, or do they actually come around and briefly explain each form and very clearly explain it in a very friendly, customer service minded manner? And so day one, day two process trainings are typically often revisited. And we do this probably every 3 months. Once a quarter, we go back and revisit this. Also, new patient phone call scripting and skills is something that we always practice on. How to ask for patient referrals, we always retrain on. And we can do these very quickly during morning huddles too. Just 10-minute role plays, have a few people just role play on asking for referral. How to ask for online reviews. There's a systematic approach to that. You don't just have everyone start asking patients for reviews, because then you have patients getting asked by 2 or 3 people, and it looks really, really, manufactured, and it's heavy soliciting. So you want to have a systematic approach where patients are only asked by one person, and then they're not asked again for a long time. And then how you ask, there's a scripting to that, and then there's role play training that should be done for that. Okay, so those are some of the things that we often revisit for training. And so what I recommend is, again, first, acquire what that long list of systems and processes for your business are, and then at least go through everything once, then put an asterisk or highlight the ones that have the high value and high repetition within your business, and have a schedule on your calendar to go back and retrain on those systematically. Okay. So now we're starting to get really systematic. Okay. So now, just to kind of recap before I go into the last fourth tip is, we're talking about having a 90-day training checklist for new hires especially, but you can put your veterans through it. Having a dedicated training time for weekly training, and then understanding all the systems and processes within the business, and then having a plan over a period of time that's going to take a long time to learn and apply everything, and then revisit and recycle the training on the most important parts. Okay. So again, we're starting to get systematic now if this is starting to get set up within your business. And the fourth and final thing is that you must, as a business owner, if you want to really train your team well and systematically, you also must understand where your team members need extra support. Okay. So you have to really have a pulse on your individual team members. And there's a way to do that. You're going to obviously see things with normal patient care, little weaknesses, but also if you conduct something that I call an individual meeting, weekly one-on-one short meetings, you can also ask your employees and have them share with you what they need extra help with. Because it's you, the team leader or the owner, having this ability to really identify the areas that your team members need more help, and then nurturing them and supporting them, providing more training and or setting up people to train each other or providing the right resources to them. This is what really allows you to unleash the superpowers that are within them, so they can all become A-level team players, and I call it the A team. Okay, so that's probably one of the hardest part is to really being able to instinctively gauge which team members need extra help in what, because it can often be overlooked. And then also with different personality types within your employees, some will be brave enough and humble enough to ask, and some actually will be shy and don't want to show any weakness, and therefore they're always going to hide some of those weaknesses. And I've seen that many times with my employees, where they don't feel like they want to ask because they're a little embarrassed, and then those same errors just keep happening and keep happening. For example, I had one CA just never could get down the new patient phone call. It always made her nervous. She always sounded unnatural. And we offered training, but you could tell she always really tried to, push it off and focus on other parts of the job. Okay. So if you really want to get your team to that superstar level, be able to quickly identify where your team members need help and really be supportive, right? You don't want to be, pointing out flaws and kind of accusing them, embarrassing them, and calling them out. You actually want to uplift them and say, hey, we're all human. I have, flaws too, and I didn't know a lot of things in the early years, and somebody had to help me. I had to ask for help. So, hey, let me help you. Okay, let's role play this. Let me give you the training. Let me give you the resources, and let's set some goals and some scheduling, and let me help you get some of these weak points strong. Okay. All right. So the big main message of this episode is, if you are a chiropractic business owner running a practice, which is stressful in its own right, because we have to do so much. We have to be clinicians. We have to take great care of patients with resolving their issues and making them feel better and get healthy and correct the problems in their spine. We also have to do things like put on a marketing hat. We also have to, do accounting for our business, and but we also have to manage our team and train them. Okay, so hopefully, if you can take some of these steps, these 4 steps, and apply it, you can start to really establish a systematic approach to your training for your team, and not just putting off where it's like, hey, oh my gosh, it's been like 3 months since we've trained on anything. You can't have that. Again, that's like the San Francisco 49ers going into game day on Sunday and they didn't train that week. Okay, that would never happen. Okay, so if you really expect to excel within your practice and get your business to the next level and into your dream practice, regular systematic team training is going to have to be a must. Okay, and now, if you're one of my clients actually that I'm coaching, you have all the resources. Okay, I've gone over this in the early modules in module 1. You also have all the systems and processes for CA training in module 3, CA training. So again, if you're my Alpha Mega Consulting client, you've got the tools, dig in. And if you need more specific exact direction, obviously get in touch with me or our other team members and coaches if you need more direction. If you are a chiropractor and you have your own business and you are feeling overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, where do I even start? I don't even know what the systems are and I don't have the resources, then obviously we welcome you to contact us and reach out. And what we're going to do is I'm going to put a link to a free consultation scheduling link in the description. Just click on that, find a time that you can connect with me or one of our team members, and we can see if we can get you some help and get you the resources you need to really train your team and get a system established for your team trainings going forward. And what I usually say is there's nothing wrong with asking for help. I had 7 consultants and coaches throughout my career, and they all taught me something. Some taught me a ton. Some were very specific on maybe one or two things that they taught me. But I needed all of them throughout my career to really put together all the systems and trainings within my practice. And so that's one thing, is that I was never afraid to ask. I was afraid to ask for the first 5 years. I was full of pride and big head and ego, and I thought, I don't need help. I'm young and smart, and I'm going to be, a chiropractic superstar. What didn't happen. After 5 years of struggling and really failing, finally, swallowed my pride and humbled myself, and I knew I needed to get some help, and got my first coach, helped me tremendously, and then from there, it just never stopped. Then my quest and thirst and hunger for just continuous learning and learning everything I could for chiropractic business just carried on throughout my whole career. And I would say probably even, that hunger is still there, because I'm always looking for ways to make our practice, lead chiropractic, better and better every year. So again, if that's you, if you're kind of sitting on the fence, should I ask for help? Nothing to be embarrassed about, nothing to feel bad about. Everybody needs help. Some of the best athletes in the world, Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, Kobe, they all had coaches, right? So all of us need help at some point. So don't be afraid to reach out. Okay. So I hope this episode brought value to you, and now you have a little more clear vision on how to get a systematic approach to your training for your team members and not leaving it to chance. And make sure you tune in. This will be a weekly new release of content, and whatever your preferred podcast source is, whether it's Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. All right. So I'll check you guys on the next one, and I'll see you then.